Well, hello there, everybody. Welcome. As you can see, today I am live, alive, and outside. Something a little bit different today. Just hanging out outside. Had to get out of the house, do something a little bit different, shake it up for us. For those of you who are joining us live, welcome, welcome, welcome. For those of you who are joining the recording, welcome to you as well. This is the Wednesday Wisdom Session with Tradeway. I am the host, Blair Nightingale, on this session. Christians as Cultural Catalysts started the series last week. Okay, last episode, we started this series, and it was a great foundation. If you haven't seen that yet, it's going to be something you can go back and watch. It's already posted on the Facebook page there. You can go back and watch that as a setup, as a foundation for what this series is going to be about. I want to start us off today with something different than we normally do. However, I'm just going to give a minute or two to let people funnel into the session here. We get people coming in and out really through the first 5 minutes or so. So let me give a second to that. For those of you that are here, you can go ahead. Len, I see you there. Hello, Coach Blair. She says, Len, hello to you as well. Thank you for being here. Benjamin, I see you there, buddy. Thanks for being on again today for everybody. I'm going to give another minute for those who just joined. We're going to give another minute just to let others join. I know we'll have some more people joining us because there's something special I want to do to start us off today, and you will want to be on the session and able to comment. So I'll give folks another moment for that. To set this up, if you did not join us last week, or to remind you if you did, the reason I chose this particular focus, Christians as Cultural Catalysts, is because of the place that we are currently at right now in this country, but not primarily, and certainly not only. Jesus commanded us. It's the commission. It's not just a command. It's a commission. It's an empowerment. And I would say it's an invitation to go into all the world. And I mentioned in my last session, we've defined that by and large for a long time now as world missions, which it certainly is. It certainly is. If you're familiar with the 1040 window and things like that, it's really these sections of the globe that still experience, by and large, an abundance of unreached people groups they've never heard. And you ever heard the saying, nobody twice until everybody once? Somebody out there has probably heard that. By the way, Nancy, David, Judy, Joyce, I see you guys there. Thanks for being on. Everybody once before anybody twice. Well, I got to tell you, I'm sure glad that God didn't do that with me, because I got saved at 21 years old, and I guarantee you, he tried to speak to me more than once. What's my point? God's bigger than that. God's going after everybody. God's bigger than that. And my point in saying that is, when I read that commission to go into all the world, there's an invitation there for me to walk with him, for you to walk with him, and go into any and all places in the world. And some of you, you're going to live right here in the US of A for the rest of your life. And if this hits home for you today, I want to liberate you from this idea that somehow you're going to be a second-class Christian because you didn't go overseas. You didn't go overseas. You didn't take a mission trip. Hopefully you can. Hopefully at some point you can, and you do. I think there's so much value in that for a lot of reasons. But I can tell you, as somebody who's lived in multiple countries around the world, visiting an inner city area of many U.S. cities does not feel a whole lot different than a lot of the countries I've been to in terms of need, okay? And in terms of the people who we can love and reach and share the gospel with. Linda, she said, I love the background vibes. Yes, I thought we'd do something a little bit different here. So we've got a few minutes in here. I just want to start today, and this is from my heart, but this is also an illustration. Who out there is with me today? Maybe you've commented already, maybe you haven't. And you just really need You need some encouragement. You need a win. You need a win. You need some wind in your sails, some life. Now, if you're somebody out there and you're like, you know what, Blair, I'm rocking pretty hard. I'm doing good. I could always use more, but I'm doing okay. Maybe just sit this one out. For somebody else who really feels like you need a win, I want you to drop that in the comments right now. Blair, I need some wind in my sails. I need a win. I hope in this session I can provide some of that for everybody. But one person out there who drops that in the comments, I am going to invite you to reach out to me, and I'm going to give you some personal contact from me. I want to reach out to you, and at the very least, I just want to give you some encouragement. I just want to pray for you, whether it's email or a phone call. I know that a lot of people on here might be more comfortable with one than the other. That's fine. That's something I want to do. So if I see that in the comments over the course of this session, I am going to make good on that. Number one, because it's in my heart to do it. But number two, it sets us up for where we're going today. Because, I see it. Yes. And I'm going to pop this up here. Jeffrey, howdy from a smoky Colorado Springs, envious of the palm trees. Good to see you, Jeffrey. I see you there. I need a gust of wind. I see you there. So I'm going to record that name, and I am going to ask you, okay? You know who you are, a tumultuous gust of wind. I'm going to ask you to email support@tradeway.com. We're going to do some more things like this in coming weeks as well, okay? Because I want to reach out to you personally. So you send me an email at support@tradeway.com. Let them know I was on the Wednesday wisdom session. Blair invited me. I need a win. They're going to get that over to me, and I'm going to know exactly what it is. They're going to have no idea what it is. I can tell you that right now. They're going to have no idea. But I want to help you. And listen, this is how I want to set this up, because today we're going to look at some bigger concepts. Here's what I don't want us to miss. It always comes down to the person in front of you. This big phrase, I bet there are a bunch of people who are not even on this session today, right? You could call this a marketing failure, maybe. They're not even on the session because this idea, cultural catalyst, that sounds big. But it's actually really exciting. The phrase is big, and what does that mean? Well, that's what we're going to dive into. But I want you to know it's always about the person in front of us. And when I think about this, I think about the love. I talked about this in the last session. The love I have for this country that I live in. And I said, what is this country that I live in? Really? Well, it's a lot of things. It's a lot of beautiful things. It's some ugly things, too. If we're real, hey, it's not perfect. It's not fully redeemed. But there's so much beautiful about it. And the most beautiful thing about it is the people. So really, being culturally catalytic as a Christian starts and ends with seeing that person in front of you and never losing sight of that one thing. And the simple things that I can do for that one person in front of me. Okay? So today's session is called Your Field of Favor. And I've got to credit Pedro Adeo, who is a kind of a business guru. He's a strong believer for this term, field of favor. I'm not specifically going to teach from his sessions on this term, but that is where I initially heard it. And it gave me language for something that I was operating in. I just had never heard that term before. So field of favor. Here's what I want to do today. I'm going to just give you a framework, give you a target, give you some questions to think about. When you begin to think, you know what? God is actually calling me, commissioning me, equipping me, inviting me into a position where I have a deeper authority and impact on the culture of this country, okay, than I now am operating in. He wants to call me into a greater level. He wants to call you into a greater level of authority and influence in an area of our culture, greater than you currently possess, no matter where you're at today. And why that's important is because I don't know, do you ever look around and go, that's not the way that God wants that? That's not the way that God would do that. And it's not that we're just looking around and nitpicking and pointing the finger, right, which we can be good at. And I don't think that's to our credit. But we're going, that could be better. There could be more life in that. There could be more truth in that. There could be more love in that. That's not the world I want my kids to grow up in. That's not the world I want my grandkids to grow up in. These are the things we're noticing. And we want to have an impact, right? And we don't have to sit and watch it happen. And I think if we would rise up and mobilize, not to rule over people, but to serve and influence and allow King Jesus to flow through us into the things that shape the culture we live in. Because there are very specific things that, when added together, the sum of those parts is what we call culture. And as it's been said, the only way for evil to triumph is for good men and women to do nothing. Now, I don't believe that there's anybody on here today who's doing nothing. That said, what if we're called to an even greater adventure and an even greater impact? And it, again, boils down to that one that's in front of you. So it's not overwhelming, but there's some things here that I think could help give us a superpower, a supercharge, if you will, to be able to see even more change, and as I like to say, do as much damage as possible while we're here on the earth, and ultimately leave this country even better when we leave, more like Jesus wants it to look than it was like when we found it or where we're sitting today. That sounds like an exciting thing to me. I think when you love someone, when you love something, you don't leave it the way it is. You get involved. It's not an us, it's not a they, it's a we. They're not in this, we are in this. So you can let me know in the comments if you agree, if you disagree. First question I have, this commission. I want to just ask you guys some questions today. For those who are really keen on this, what are some things you say, well, where do we even start with this? Well, ask yourself this. What do you get passionate about? What do you desire to see changed? I want to see that changed. And not just a person, not just I wish that person would change. But what is a thing? What is something that you want to see change? This is a passion. It's not the same for everybody. You might think, everybody might want that. But oftentimes this is individual. What's something you want to see changed? I'm going to tell a story here in a minute when I lay out some of these questions about where this is at for me. Okay? Here's another way to say it. What are you not okay leaving as it is? If that thing stays the way it is, I'm not okay with that. Again, it's more about the positive that you want to bring to it than pointing out a negative. But as it is, no, I don't want to see that stay that way. And there might be lots of things in our world that we're able to recognize and go, I wouldn't want that to be that way, or that might be overwhelming. What's something you are passionate about? You say, I don't want to leave this world with that thing being the way it is. It's not just what I'm against, but it's what I'm for. What do I bring to it? Another way to say this. What do you dream about? What do you dream about when you're with God? When you dream about what's possible, when you dream about what you could do with Him for the kingdom of God on the earth, what does that dream look like? That's a huge indicator. It certainly can be of where He could be leading you to plant seeds and set up for a harvest. These are important things. When you envision these things, who are you impacting? Who's benefiting from that? Who are the people that are in that picture? Because those are people that, like I said at the beginning of the session, they're right in front of you. It's that one in front of you. It's that one person. And that's the person that you can ultimately help. And you can be confident that God wants to help that person. So there's life in that. And I've talked about it on here before. Being about the Father's business is a key to favor and momentum. And when you love people and say, I can't leave that person or those people or that situation the way it is, and you get involved, that's where the favor and power of God starts to flow in a new way. And if he has something different for you, he can redirect. So what I want to do, yes, I see some people posting some of the things that they're passionate about. Yes, sending the word of God to restricted nations of the world. Right? This is huge. I can't quote you the statistics on this. Somebody out there might know this. But it's these wild statistics for every Bible, one that gets into China. How many people come to faith? It's wild. It's wild. And I've been to China and seen some of those things at work. So it's extremely powerful. I want to give you this idea here. Okay, what's a framework? I talked to you last time, and I've mentioned this a few times. This idea of the culture as a plane, if you will. Okay, and the majority of culture is sitting on this plane in coach, right? They're along for the ride, and there's a much smaller amount of people that are flying this plane in the front, and they're making all the decisions. So by and large, they are affecting the experience that so many of the rest of us have. And it wouldn't be wise to look at the direction of something that you want to have an impact on and not consider this factor as we do that. Because it has a massive, as I just said, impact on the direction of where everybody goes. And culture, by and large, culture works that way. If there's something in culture that grieves you, this is why people get really fired up about politics. And of course, we have no shortage of that right now, because there is an agreement, there's an acknowledgement that it has this massive impact on the direction of the plane. And that is true. It does. Some say, well, is that more of a reflection because we do vote? I think there's probably some gray area there, and that's outside the scope of the session. But that is one piece of the major pieces that actually end up creating the whole of culture. I'm going to give you 7 of them right now, okay? These are 7 spheres, if you will, of really what constructs what we know to be culture. They are major drivers. I'm going to list them for you right now. The first one I just mentioned is government, right? This is on multiple levels, right? This is not just a federal level, but this is government. Okay, that has a huge impact on the culture that we live in. But it's not the only one. The second one is arts and entertainment. And we know that. And I live in Los Angeles. By and large, this is an epicenter for that. It's definitely changing and spreading out, but this is still a huge place for that very thing, which then makes me wonder why a lot of Christians and believers actually flee from places like this rather than lean in and love people and serve people, because it's a huge cultural hub. Second one, arts and entertainment. Third one is family. It's family. It's at home. I was told many years ago, for me, many years ago, I was told the strength of the nation is in the home. And I think every year we see statistics, and this really comes more and more clear. It really becomes more and more clear. The strength of the nation is in the home. And so many things flow from whether or not that place was healthy or that place was not healthy. There's so much time and work that happens. I've been thinking about lately, if you want to get into shape, it takes a lot of work. to get there. But only a couple of days with no discipline in the kitchen, eating candy, right? That can easily erode all the work. And I think, I look at this picture of healthy families, and, an unhealthy family can be a lifetime of work just trying to get back to ground zero, depending on the experience. And there's so many things that are happening that we're trying to solve that problem. And I think a lot of you guys would agree with me. That family unit obviously is very important to God, and that's a very important thing. That family structure. Now, there's so many different areas of our culture that focus and fixate on that one thing, but that is an extremely huge driver. Family. Second, the next one, fourth one now, education. This is all the way from the little ones up to the academia, right? And we know, the stronghold. I keep saying by and large today. I feel like that's my buzzword today. The stronghold over academia is huge. It's a lot of unbelief. It's naturalism. You're laughed out of the room if you don't believe naturalism is the only way. What we see, what we can touch, what we can feel is the only thing. You'll see signs. You'll see signs that say, I believe in science. And what's asserted by that is that if you're a person of faith, you must not believe in science, which is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I'm passionate about that. And I'll leave that one at that. But education. Education is another one. It's literally, we've got to what? Renew our minds. We've got to renew our minds. Romans 12 tells us, from the patterns of this world. Can't afford to have a thought in my mind. It's not in God's. Well, what are our schools putting in their minds? And I'm not demonizing the systems. I'm not demonizing the schools or the teachers. That's not my goal. Doesn't mean I like what they're saying. It depends. But there's definitely some ground to be taken there. And it does shape the expectations and minds of people in this country. And that has a massive impact on our culture. Jeffrey, I'm going to pop that up there, Jeffrey. Campus Crusade for Christ, who, interestingly enough, this framework that I'm describing right now, the founder of Campus Crusade for Christ definitely was passionate about this very thing. Was a great influence on me. I went on my first mission trip with Campus Crusade for Christ. So that's awesome. Culture. That's a good example of being engaged. Media is the next one. Now, this one's the one that's maybe driving a lot of us crazy right now. And I'm not going to dive into a whole thing on the media right now, but I think it stands to say we can see information war that happens if you can control the narrative, whatever it is. People are getting to the point almost now. You remember where Pilate says in the scriptures, he says, what is truth? It's a very cynical stance on, I don't think anybody can really know it. So don't even tell me what's true. I don't even know if there's such a thing as truth. What is truth? There's so much fog and bias and personal agenda. Media shapes minds and opinions and perspectives and passions and projects and pursuits. And thus it shapes culture in a major way. In a major way. So who has a passion for media and truth done responsibly? Number 6, economics and business. I'm going to tell you a story about this in a second here because it kind of brings it home for me. Economics and business, Tradeway. We do this Wisdom Wednesday. We are a finance company. We are a financial investment firm registered with the Security Exchange Commission. And we come on here and connect with other believers. We try to encourage. We try to edify. We're not a church. but we are the church. And we want to have an impact in this very realm. And David, when he started this company, had a desire and a passion to do just that, to impact the greater culture by helping the individual and the individual family get greater breakthrough in the area of finance and economics. It is a huge part of what shapes culture. It is a huge part of what shapes culture. And of course, number 7 is the church. Okay, and I would even say spirituality. It's the church and spirituality. That is a huge, huge part of what makes our culture what it is. It's a pillar in our culture, right? Jeffrey says we are the body, and we are. So if you even think about those 7 spheres, those 7 definitions that I just said, those, if you will, those are in the cockpit of the airplane. And whoever is really steering those is shaping the narrative that's happening over our country, happening over our culture. Now, that doesn't mean we have to abide in that, or that we have to be swayed by that. And of course, that's not true. But by and large, the masses are affected by these very things. And so are we on some level, because they're very pervasive. And they could be in a good way. They could be in a negative way. Okay? So if you envision these and you recall, and as I'm saying them rather, you think, which one stands out to you? Which one is something you're passionate about? What's something you believe in? Even as simple as this. What's one of them that, because it stands out to you, you're like, oh man, and I want to go to prayer. I want to make that one a prayer focus. I'm going to ask the Lord. I'm going to dive into education specifically. I just have a burden. God, give us a burden. I'm just praying for us. God, give us a burden today for one of these areas that you want to move through us in prayer and in action. And you'll have to be the leader. You'll have to open the door. And there'll be an invitation. It may be for some of us be the greatest adventure of faith we ever go on. Not because we're on this session and we looked at this list, but because we just said, hey, God, is there something you want to invite me into? And you responded and you said yes. And I said yes. He's all about doing stuff like that. You know a dangerous prayer you can pray? God, I dare you to invite me into a new journey. I dare you to invite me into an adventure. I dare you to invite me into a place that is doomed to fail if you don't step in. It's not what the world thinks it is. We know this. Some fantasy where we get together on Sunday and have a social club. We know this. It's a living relationship. And when we step out of the boat, we find we can, we do walk on water when we say yes to that invitation. I prayed that prayer. God makes good on that prayer. God makes good on that prayer. Take an area that's close to your heart and make it a focus for you. Engage with that. You already are. And that's great. Hopefully this is inspiring you, or even maybe refining that for you some. But being engaged and involved. We can't afford to sit back and go, the world's just going to get worse anyway, so let's just let it happen, and hopefully Jesus comes back tomorrow. Because we don't know the time. We don't know anything like that specifically. So who's going to inherit the world that we didn't stand up in? We've got loved ones on the earth today that we hope will outlive us. That's not the kind of inheritance that I think a righteous man or woman leaves to them. I want to tell you, I was walking around in a community. I see some of you guys are saying there is no sound. Are you guys with me now? My connection. Okay, I apologize for that, guys. My connection looks pretty good. If somebody can even just drop a comment real quick and let me know where I left off. What was the last thing you heard? I did not notice that we had lost audio there. I apologize for that. Are you guys with me? Okay. Sounds like it's okay now. Okay. Mario says the mic is clicking a little bit. I am clicking on my laptop here a little bit as I'm trying to figure this out. So hopefully we've got a stable connection here, and some of you could hear me throughout that. So to just, okay. So it looks like it was a little while ago, unfortunately. Ultimately what I was saying is pick one of these as a point and go to the Lord, or go to the Lord to begin with and say, what's something here that, Lord, you have for me, you want to invite me into? And I just mentioned that we can't afford. Okay, I see, Judy. We're just going to do this really quick, guys. And hopefully that's a little bit better for everybody. We can't afford to buy into the strategy of the enemy. And I believe that is what it is. That even though the scripture tells us that we're going to see, for example, the love of many grow cold, that certain things are going to advance in wickedness as the days go on. That was never an invitation for us as believers to take a step back and let the world fall apart. The Bible still says, you are the light of the world. I am the light of the world. We're a city on a hill. We talked about this last week. And if we are at any level people who love our neighbor and have loved ones in our lives who we hope are going to outlive us, they are going to inherit the world that we either fought for or didn't fight for. And what I mean by the world, I mean the expansion of the kingdom so far as we have the ability with the Lord to do so in our lives. And I believe that the enemy has used that to cause us to step back and go, well, not much we can do. It's just going to get worse. Nothing we can do. And other people have to inherit that. And that's not something that I believe a righteous man or woman, that's not an inheritance we leave for them. So, Judy commented, your last topic is to have a passion about something. And really, ultimately, where is your passion? If you think about these different spheres, where is your passion? Is there something you get fired up about? That's a good place to go and start, even just in prayer with the Lord. And ask him, where do you want me to engage with you on this? And even, I don't know if this came through or not, so if this is repetition, I apologize, but it'll be good. Even ask him to invite you into a journey where it's going to be only him can do it. Only him can open the doors. Only he can do it. He's on the water. If it's you, command me to come. I've asked him that before. Lord, I just ask you to dare me to trust you with something. Dare me to step out of the boat. dare me into this journey where if I do this, it will be doomed to fail if you do not intervene. Not because I'm throwing myself off the top of the temple, but because I'm choosing to trust in allowing him to lead me. And that always brings us to the Red Sea. When we follow God, we're going to end up at the Red Sea. We're going to end up at the border of promise, and there's going to be giants. And we can always fall apart at the Red Sea if we want. We can always turn back at the promised land if we want. It will fail if he doesn't come through. And that's the adventure we live on. That's the adventure we live in. And I mentioned this earlier already. If we didn't hear it, the world believes that we have a social club that meets on Sundays. And I don't take my temperature from the world, but far be it from us to walk with God in the fight of faith that we're given in this hour, because we're the ones here. We're the stewards. We're alive on the earth. Far be it from me, to live a shallow faith that doesn't accept that dare, because God will work through it in such a powerful way. And I'm getting a little off topic here. This is so important. God will move through it. And people will see him in your life and they will believe. And you will be edified, and you'll never trade that. I promise you that. And people out there can testify, you know what I'm saying. I was walking around in a community here south of LA. I have a drum studio there, and the community down there is, there's a lot of struggle. There's a lot of struggle in the community. And I was walking around, and I'll tell you one of my dreams, and it's just a dream right now, but it's birthed in my heart. I have a prayer journey that I'm on with God, where I am praying about starting businesses. And the whole reason that I want to start these businesses is because I want to employ specific families that would never, given their current situation, they would never be able to get that kind of an opportunity. There's an impact. That's the business world. It's an impact I want to have on family through business. It's just a dream. It's just a dream in my heart. It's something I want to do. I grew up in a single income, single mom home. I have compassion for that situation. I know how hard it can be. And I say, I want to do that. And it's in these areas of culture that I can touch the one person in front of me. It's very practical. It's very simple. It's a part of my life. It's something I'm starting in prayer. I'm planting the seeds and I'm moving forward on that. I think those dreams we have in our heart that are full of compassion, those are huge in being a compass to us of where is this field of favor going to be? And that's, remember, what we're talking about. Where is this field of favor? A field where I can begin to plant, sow, till, prepare, and eventually harvest as God causes it to grow. And you may not pick only one of these, and you may not necessarily use this, this sevenfold, if you will, framework, but I'm just giving you a picture of how this culture can be broken down into different realms. Okay? He can use you anywhere. But as we look for a way to engage, Lord, where is a place that when I engage in this area, you guys, some of you out there, you're going to know exactly what I mean. Where is an area where when you engage in that area, there's just grace. There's just power. Or there's more grace. There's more power. There's more favor. It fits your personality. It's your gift mix. It's not that he never calls you outside of what you're used to. He stretches you, right? He calls you out of the boat to do something you could never do on your own, maybe something you've never done before. But there are these areas in my life, I know, that when I go into them, I go, you know what? I have less grace here. I feel like this doesn't really work when I do this. Because I sometimes, I'll tell you guys, I'll be honest, there's lots of things I want to do. And I realize, no, God has me here. God has me here. When I operate in this realm, business, when I operate in this realm, the church, there is way more grace and favor. There just is. And I meet people and their gift mix and their personality is different. And man, they just go into arts and entertainment in a way that I'm just like, whoa, God just uses you so powerfully there. And that's the field of favor. And I've learned that I can't force it to be somewhere different than what I'm designed for. I don't want to be limited. Remember I said I want God to invite me, dare me. But I also recognize that I have a field of favor in my life. It's who I am. It's what I'm called to do. And there's wisdom in saying that is a place that I can spend my life. That is a place I can sow. That is a place I can water. That is a place that I can pray. That is a place that God moves in me and through me and around me and even for me to have such an impact in a unique and heightened way. It's that I have more effectiveness than anywhere else in that area. Hopefully, example, the church, we all get nourished and encouraged there. Okay, but that may not be the place where this is above and beyond. So this is really a framework to begin to think about making an impact and raising your expectation of what is possible for you in this world and all of us together moving forward with this kind of intentionality. Huge impact. I think of it like this, and I'll close with this statement. You know, you could do something, a great habit, for a single day. You could do something for a single day. And hopefully you reap some kind of reward from the commitment and the discipline of whatever it might be, whether it's exercise or eating or being intentional with your spouse or your children or whatever the case might be. But when you do something over 30 days, 60 days, 365 days, it's the accumulation of what happens over that time is extremely powerful and so often underestimated. 12 people turned the ancient world upside down. And how do I say this? Let's not fall into another fallacy of the devil that limits us and say, well, Blair, that was the apostles. Blair, they did something we could never do. They fulfilled a role that was specific for them. But we live with He who is the same today, yesterday, and forever. And He nowhere in His word says, well, from here on out, let's put some limitations on what's possible. Let's scale it back a bit because the time of the apostles is over. I'm not making a denominational statement here, by the way. I'm saying what William Carey said, attempt great things for God, expect great things from God. That has never changed, and that never will change. As long as we live in this age where the Holy Spirit, as Spurgeon said, is our present Emmanuel, we can be a city on a hill. We can be leaven, and a little bit of leaven leavens the whole. That's what Jesus said. With that said, I'm going to close this out today. Thank you guys so much for being on today, diving into this. Let me know what you thought of the session. Let me know what you're thinking of the series. I want to hear your feedback. A little bit of technical issues in the middle there, but we did just fine. Thanks so much for sticking with us. We're back with a new session next week. Of course, as always, Monday we'll be back. Market Mondays. Had a great session this week. Going to continue giving you the basics that you need to know about stock trading. That's what we're going over. So this is who we are. Monday, we look at what is it that we do, equipping you so that you can get out there, see some breakthrough in your financial world, get a win. Remember to email me if you were the one that I mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast. You can do something simple today, maybe outside your comfort zone, but something real simple for somebody else. You'll change their day. You are the light of the world. And if you need some encouragement, if you need something today, I would just close out by saying, God, let's take it back to the simple gospel. God is looking at you. The eye of the Lord is on those who fear him, those who trust in his name. He's looking at you. He knows who you are. He knows where you are. He knows what you need. And if you'll reach out to him, he will draw near. He will draw near to you. Thanks so much for being on, guys. Bless you.